Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive into some really fascinating material.
Yeah.
We've got 50 audio files from a series called Marifat,
Wow.
and it features these Iranian philosophers, Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani, and they're talking all about Saadi.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so before we jump in, though, just a quick disclaimer. This is a translation of conversations with the Iranian philosophers, so
Right.
some details might not be fully conveyed. We apologize for any discrepancies there.
Of course.
But that said,
Yeah.
we're on episode 29 of 50, and I'm really excited to see what wisdom we can unearth today.
Me too.
So what if prayer is about more than just asking for things? What if it unlocks like a hidden dimension of our being? Let's dive in. Saadi, in his Gulistan, opens with this line, "Come, let us lift up the hand of the heart, for tomorrow the rose will not be found." What a powerful image.
Yeah.
What do you make of that, especially the phrase, hand of the heart?
Yeah. You know what's fascinating there is that Saadi isn't talking about like a physical gesture. Dr. Dinani points out that the hand of the heart signals a much deeper engagement, something that goes beyond our physical actions.
So it's like he's hinting at a part of us that we don't usually tap into.
Exactly. Dr. Dinani suggests that humans have the spiritual capacity that needs to be activated. We're not just intelligent beings, we have this whole other dimension to our existence.
Okay, so how does prayer fit into this idea of a spiritual capacity?
Well, for Dr. Dinani, prayer is that moment when our whole being, body, mind, and spirit becomes unified. It's in prayer that we reach out to the divine, and in that reaching, we become whole.
You know, it's like when you're completely absorbed in something you love, time just seems to disappear.
Right.
Is Dr. Dinani saying that prayer can be like that, a connection to something eternal?
That's a great connection. And it's not just a one-sided connection either.
Right.
Dr. Larijani brings in a verse from the Quran. "And when my servants ask you, O Muhammad, concerning me, indeed I am near,
Okay.
I respond to the invocation of the supplicant when he calls upon me."
So it's more than just us talking to God. It's about aligning ourselves with the divine, like finding a common language.
That's a really insightful way to put it. They both emphasize that it's not just about words. It's about our inner state, what they call the language of the heart, syncing up with the act of asking.
Okay, this is all pretty profound.
Yeah.
But for someone listening who wants to know, like, what this means for how they actually pray, what would you say?
Well, Dr. Larijani makes an interesting observation about our everyday awareness. It's scattered.
Right.
We're constantly bombarded with stimuli pulled in a million directions.
Yeah.
So prayer for him is about bringing all that scattered attention back into focus and unity.
So it's like hitting the reset button on our minds, clearing out the clutter.
Precisely. And Dr. Dinani even compares it to calligraphy. Just like each stroke in calligraphy is intentional and beautiful.
Right.
He suggests that prayer can take our scattered thoughts and desires and transform them into a unified expression.
I love that analogy. It's like taking all the messy scribbles of our lives and turning them into a work of art.
Exactly. And Dr. Dinani talks about Ramadan as more than just abstaining from food.
Okay.
He says it's about opening a hidden mouth, our spiritual capacity.
So maybe Saadi is saying that true prayer isn't just about getting what we want. It's about connecting to something much bigger than ourselves, aligning ourselves with a source of truth and wholeness.
That's a beautiful way to sum it up.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we're not isolated beings, but part of something much grander and more mysterious.
You know, I'm still thinking about that image of the hand of the heart. It's like Saadi is reminding us that prayer is about more than just, reciting words.
Yeah.
It's about this deep inner yearning,
Right.
reaching out from the core of our being.
What's interesting is that Dr. Dinani suggests that this yearning isn't just directed outward towards something external. It's also a yearning for something within us, for that dormant spiritual capacity that gets overshadowed by daily life.
I think we can all relate to that feeling of being so busy chasing achievements and checking off to-do lists that we neglect a part of ourselves.
Exactly. And that neglect can lead to a feeling of fragmentation.
Yeah.
A sense of being disconnected, not just from the divine, but from ourselves as well.
That makes so much sense. When I'm stressed, prayer is usually the last thing on my mind. But maybe that's when I need it the most.
Yeah, Dr. Larijani talks about prayer as an act of reintegration, of gathering our scattered attention and bringing us back to wholeness. It's like hitting the pause button on the chaos of life.
And in that pause, we reconnect with that still quiet center within.
Yes. And that stillness allows us to access a deeper level of awareness, a kind of knowing that goes beyond the purely intellectual.
So it's not about figuring things out with our minds, but opening ourselves up to a different way of knowing.
Right.
A knowing that comes from the heart.
Precisely. And that's where the true power of prayer lies.
Okay.
It's not just about asking for things, it's about aligning ourselves with the divine will, surrendering to something larger than ourselves.
That idea of surrender can be so challenging. Letting go of control and trusting that there's something greater at work, even when I don't understand it, can be really difficult.
It's a common struggle. But Dr. Dinani suggests that it's in that surrender, in letting go, that we discover our own strength and resilience.
It's as though we're tapping into a source of power that's always been there, but we've been blocking it with our own fears and anxiety.
Yes, and that source of power isn't separate from us. It's within us.
Right.
Dr. Larijani speaks of it as a divine spark, the breath that animates all of creation.
So prayer is about reconnecting with that spark, remembering that we're not isolated beings, but part of this interconnected web of life.
Exactly. And that recognition can completely transform our perspective.
Yeah.
It shifts our focus from a sense of lack to one of abundance and connection.
It's like shifting from a mindset of scarcity to one of gratitude,
Right.
recognizing the blessings around us.
And that gratitude opens us up to receive even more blessings. It creates a cycle of abundance that flows outward, impacting not just our own lives, but the lives of those around us.
So it's not just about personal transformation, but about contributing to the collective good and creating a more harmonious world.
That's what makes Saadi's teaching so timeless.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just offering a way to connect with the divine, but a way to connect with each other and build a more just and loving world.
Yeah, that's such a powerful message, especially given all the division in the world today. It's easy to feel overwhelmed and lose hope.
Absolutely. But Saadi's poetry reminds us that there's always hope.
Yeah.
Always a possibility for transformation, healing, and connection. And that possibility begins within each one of us.
It starts with that simple act of lifting up the hand of the heart, reaching out with that deep inner yearning for something more.
As we continue exploring Saadi's insights, think about how these teachings resonate with your own experience of prayer. How might they guide you on your journey of spiritual growth and connection?
This deep dive into Saadi's view on prayer has been so eye-opening. It's really shifted my perspective.
Yeah, it's amazing how Saadi's poetry, along with the interpretations of Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani, offer such a profound understanding of what it means to truly connect with the divine.
Yeah, one thing that's really stuck with me is this idea that prayer is about so much more than just asking for things. It's about aligning ourselves with a higher purpose and tapping into this source of strength and wisdom beyond our limited understanding.
Right. Both Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani, they really emphasize that point. They suggest that prayer is like this transformative practice that can help us to shift from these ego-driven desires to surrender and acceptance.
Yeah, it's like we're letting go of the need to control everything and trusting that a greater wisdom is guiding us towards our highest good.
Exactly. And that trust, that surrender can be incredibly liberating. It allows us to kind of release the burden of carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders and tap into a strength that's greater than our own.
It's like we're stepping out of the driver's seat and letting something else take the wheel.
Oh, I love that.
Trusting that we're being guided in the right direction, even when we can't see the road ahead.
What a great analogy. It really highlights the importance of faith in prayer. It's not about blindly believing, but about cultivating this deep trust in the unseen, in the unfolding of life's journey.
So it's about having faith that even when things are difficult, even when we don't understand why things are happening the way they are, there's a greater purpose at work, a purpose that's leading us towards growth and transformation.
That's where the concept of marifat comes in true knowledge or understanding.
Okay.
It's not just intellectual knowledge, but this deep intuitive knowing, a connection to the heart of reality.
So it's about moving beyond the limitations of our minds and tapping into a deeper level of awareness, a knowing that comes from direct experience from the heart.
Precisely. And that kind of knowing can't be forced.
Right.
It emerges organically through the practice of prayer, through surrendering our ego and cultivating an open heart.
It's like creating a fertile ground within ourselves where the seeds of wisdom and compassion can grow.
That's a beautiful image. It reminds us that prayer is not a destination, but a journey.
Yeah.
An ongoing process of deepening our connection to the divine and aligning ourselves with the flow of life.
And that journey isn't always easy, is it? There will be challenges, doubts, and times when we feel lost or disconnected.
Of course. But those challenges and those moments of darkness, they're all part of the process.
Right.
They're opportunities for growth, deepening our understanding and strengthening your resolve.
It's like we're being tested and refined, emerging stronger, more resilient.
Exactly. And that resilience comes from recognizing that we're not alone on this journey. You know, we have the support of the divine, the guidance of wisdom teachings, and the companionship of others walking a similar path.
It's like we're all in this together, supporting and encouraging each other, sharing our insights, struggles, and triumphs.
That sense of community, of shared purpose, is incredibly powerful. It reminds us that we're not just isolated individuals, but interconnected beings, each playing a vital role in the unfolding tapestry of life.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into Saadi's wisdom on prayer, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this conversation?
I hope listeners understand that prayer is more than just a ritual or a set of beliefs.
Right.
It's a transformative practice that can awaken our hearts, expand our consciousness, and connect us to a source of wisdom and strength far greater than our own.
It's about cultivating that inner garden, nurturing those seeds of marifat, and allowing them to blossom into a life of purpose, meaning, and connection.
Beautifully said. And as you continue on your own journey of prayer and spiritual exploration, may you find solace in Saadi's wisdom, inspiration in his poetry, and guidance in his profound insights on connecting with the divine.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Wisdom Unveiled. We'll be back next time to explore more timeless wisdom. Until then, keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep the conversation going.